Hello everybody, welcome to Blue Cloud Trading. My name is George. We just saw Tom Lee and some guests on Closing Bell from Friday's episode, and I was supposed to put this video out yesterday. I did not get a chance to do it, so here it is. We're going to go over the number of stocks, about 14 stocks that fall under the criteria of Tom Lee's stocks that meet Tom Lee's criteria: sold out, not oversold. This is a list that they showed on the show. We're going to look at each one of these individually, see if they make sense here. In the prior video, he also recommended the Fab 7 stocks, but we already did the analysis on this in the prior video, yesterday's video, so check that out if you want to look at that. I also talked about the indices at the end of the day, talked about that, so check that out in the prior video. The video specifically is this one right here, the one where Steve Weiss and Jim Lebenthal got into a pretty heated exchange. It was pretty interesting, pretty funny. You might get a kick out of it. And the technical analysis is always at the end of my videos, so you can find my technical analysis in all the videos. Now, one more thing I want to mention is I actually put out a new video here, members only video. I just posted this 55 minutes ago. In these videos that I do each weekend, I actually go over my entire portfolio. I share the trades that I placed throughout the week. And this is like a 1-hour video right here. I give some of my advice on how to manage portfolios in this environment, because it's a really complex place to be. And I've been trading for over 25 years. Hopefully I'm giving some positive advice out there that can help you guys from avoiding huge losses and maybe maximizing the profits in your portfolios. And if you want to be able to see this video along with all the other ones, all you need to do is click on the join button right here. You just become either a Blue Cloud Trader level member or a Blue Cloud Legend level member. If you just want to see the videos, you can become a Blue Cloud Trader. If you want to see the videos plus get the daily trade updates that I post and day trading videos that I've recorded, you can, the posts are all here in the post section, become a Blue Cloud Legend level. It's the highest level membership. And what else did I want to share with you guys? Oh yeah, one other cool thing. If you guys are already using the software that I use, TC2000, I did something on X on the Twitter page here. I actually, right here, if you scroll down, you will find this little link here. And if you're already using the software, you can actually get the same layout that I use. This layout right here, you can import it. Okay, once you have the TC2000 downloaded, and you just click on import layout, and then you'll see it up in the top right hand corner. All right, and you can get it right there. You can access it if you're using TC2000. If you're not using TC2000 and you want to, real easy to do that. Just again, click on the Blue Cloud Trading website there, that link. It will bring you here. Click on 8 more links, scroll down. There's the link. You get a $25 coupon for the TC2000 software. Just put your email, type all this stuff down here. Here's the pricing information. All right, for the software. Okay, let's get into the stocks now. And we're going to start here with Ares Management LP. So how's this stock looking right now? Let's take a look at the weekly chart. So we're using the Ichimoku indicator. It helps us to identify the overall trend of the market or stock or ETF, whatever it is that you want to look for. And what we're trying to do is identify the direction. Where's the market? Where's this stock going? Is it declining? Is it moving up? Right now, it has had a big decline, but we did get a very important pattern here. All right, this is called the piercing line. After a big drop, like you see right there, when you get this type of pattern, it can certainly lead to a move up. What is this pattern called? It's called the piercing line pattern. So it looks a little bit, let me pop it up here for you. There you have it. It's after a drop. You see a red negative candle followed by a bullish one. The difference is it gaps down in the morning, it moves up, closes within the body of the candle. That's a very bullish double candle pattern. And when we see it, like right here, gap down, moved up, closed within the body, that's very important, and it could lead to a potential move up. The only thing I'm seeing though is the ADX, which is that white line there. That's still moving up. That represents momentum. It's still to the downside. We still have resistance, right? Upper part of the cloud, the Ichimoku cloud, and we have the moving averages waiting right there too. So I don't know. I mean, this is the weekly chart. Okay, so here's the daily. How can we trade this? You know, right now it's still in a decline. We have a series of lower highs, lower lows. What might it make sense? When it gets probably above the cloud around 170. That's about a 19% move. I mean, you can start trading this if you're an active trader. You can certainly use a 2-hour time frame and wait for it to break the cloud on that time frame and then trade it based on that. We do have a series of higher highs, higher lows. Once it breaks through the cloud, which is just 5.5% away from where we currently are, then you'll have a little bit more confirmation. But remember, you'll also have more resistance. That 200-day moving average will be waiting in the background there for you as a level of resistance. But just giving you a heads up about that. Here's Kava. So let's look at the weekly chart on this one. This one's showing another type of bullish engulfing, another bullish pattern. It's called the bullish engulfing pattern. So you've got these two candles right here. Okay. Small red candle followed by a larger one that engulfs it. It's also, look at this. Right here is our prior low, the 71.60 level, finding support right here. It's got some chance of moving up. But the problem is it's got resistance right there. Tenkan-sen, Kijun-sen at these levels around, let me see what that level is, around 122. Here's a daily. Again, these are weekly levels, right? So each one of these candles right now is representing 1 week. So it has been moving up for these last 5 weeks or so. On the, I'm sorry, this is a daily right here. On the weekly chart, it's only one candle, right? So it's been basing here, just developing this bullish pattern. On the 2-hour, it has broken through the cloud. So we have a buy signal there. Again, if you do decide to trade this on the 2-hour, you have to stick to that. And it can be pretty time consuming checking your charts every 2 hours. It's up to you, to determine your time frame. It can certainly also be day traded on a 5-minute, for example. Okay, if you got a lot of time on your hands and you don't mind staring at a screen, you can do that. And you can see that Kava, for example, from this point where it broke above the cloud to that level there, it did move 2% in approximately 2 hours. So, yeah. And on the 2-hour time frame, we're still kind of stuck in this little area, but it's been finding support right above the cloud, so that's good. How about CEG? Here's the weekly chart. Another bullish engulfing pattern on the weekly. Here's the daily time frame. It's not bullish quite yet. On the 2-hour time frame, it's under the cloud still. So I'd wait until it gets above 214. It's at 208 right now. DUOL. Notice how every time it's come to that 200-day moving average, it's stalled and reversed. It came up, stalled, reversed, came up, stalled, and reversed. 200-day is it's watched by so many traders. And so, you can see how it can either act as a level of support or a level of resistance. And I'd wait to get above that level first, around the 339 level. It's about 3% away. And get above these highs, these prior highs, which is like 343 maybe, actually, to be honest with you. That's where I'd look for it. DXCM on the weekly chart. If you're trading this on the weekly, it doesn't really make sense to. Okay, you don't have anything bullish going on here on the daily time frame either. It looks like it might be pulling back, actually. It moved up and got, there's another pattern here. Let me just see if I can find it, if we even have that one on the cheat sheet. Let's see if it's in there. It's not in here, but I know that is, in fact, a bearish pattern. When you see price, for example, gap up, like it did right there, and then the whole day just close, just drop. And you can see we had follow through. It did stall at the Tenkan-sen. So DXCM, not something I'd be interested in. Here's a 2-hour time frame, stalling right there at the cloud. Okay, let's go to the next one. EW. Edwards Life Sciences, up 1.67% on Friday. There's that 200-day lurking above 98 level, lurking above that. There's the weekly. Doesn't look great on the weekly. Daily time frame under the cloud, under the 200, and on the 2-hour time frame, same thing. So stay out of that one. HSY, the Hershey Company, weekly chart. Well, we got a little bit of a bullish candle on the weekly. That might turn into something. Daily time frame, we're inside the cloud. Looks like it's trying to do something here, but 2-hour time frame, we're still under the 200 and the cloud. It would need to get above 168 or so. And if you really want to be safe, you can wait until it gets above these highs right here around the 173 level on the 2-hour time frame, because it's going to stall. It doesn't look good in those upper time frames. Personally, what I like to do, I like to look at the weekly and the daily time frames when I'm deciding on a stock or ETF and make my decision based on that. And then I'll fine tune it. I'll look for that optimal entry on the shorter time frames. But make the decision based on the weekly and daily. Okay. Tom Lee's strategy here is a little different because he's trying to buy things, at these cheaper levels before they've proved that they are, recovering. And that can be, you're playing with fire there, in my opinion. You got to see a little bit of follow through, a little bit of more interest in the stock or ETF. You need to see that. All right. So we talked about Hershey's. Let's say KNSL, Kinsale Capital Group. Let's look at this on the weekly chart. Okay, here's something that is workable. And it also happened to be Josh Brown's final trade back on April 3rd. It's workable. Would I be getting into it? No, not quite yet. You can see that it's stalling. It's basically in a consolidation stage right now, stuck in this range. And so that's not the optimal time. Personally, I'd be looking at this prior high here, at least to get above that $500 level. That's the weekly. Here's the daily. If you're trading this on the daily, your next target is around 500, which is about just 3.5%. It's not a big return. 2-hour time frame, you're still inside the cloud, so stay out of that one. Okay, LPL. Here we go. Weekly chart. Dropping. It's out of favor. This is not something I would touch with a 10-foot bull. Profit margins are also negative. I'm not sure why they listed this one. LG Display. Although I will say this, folks, because there was an article that just came out this weekend. All right, so let's talk about that article. This one right here from Yahoo Finance. Apple, Nvidia score relief from U.S. tariffs with exemptions. This all started happening today. They posted this at 3:40 p.m. Okay. Basically, Donald Trump's administration exempted smartphones, computers, and other electronics from its so-called reciprocal tariffs, representing a major reprieve for global technology manufacturers, including Apple and Nvidia, even if it proves a temporary one. Okay, and the exclusions published late Friday by U.S. Customs and Border Protection narrow the scope of the levies by excluding the products from Trump's 125% China tariff and his baseline 10% global tariff on nearly all other countries. So what does that mean? This is going to be now a winners and losers scenario. There will be certain winners. There will be certain companies that will do well. Others will still be punished. And so it's not an equal playing field. But he's creating exemptions. And I think we all kind of had a sense that that was the plan, right? You put on these tariffs, huge tariffs, and then you have all these companies come to your door, right? And beg to get some relief from the tariffs. And the larger companies will be able to do that. Apple, Nvidia, the Fab 7 stocks will be able to do that. Who will not have that capacity and capability is small and mid-sized companies. Not good. But any company that sells, apparently, like I said, the technology that we just mentioned right there, they will benefit for the most part. Maybe they sell parts. I don't know. We'll see how that plays out on Monday. But I think it's going to be very bullish for Apple and Nvidia Monday. I'll be watching that closely. Let's get back to the stocks. All right. So where were we? Here we are. So that's why LG Display Company Limited technology sectors, I think that might get a boost out of this. I don't know. We'll see. Not something I'd be interested in. Here's another one. New Holdings. We got a bullish engulfing. That's a nice positive pattern. Let's look at the daily. It's still under the cloud, still in a decline. Hasn't broken any prior highs. I'd stay out of that one. PEN, Penumbra Inc., medical devices. That's the daily chart inside the cloud. Not there yet. Here's a weekly. No on that one still. But it's looking like it might pop next week, possibly. We'll see. This is what it looks like on the 2-hour. Emerged for a moment above the 200-day and the cloud, but that was a temporary thing. Here's Rivian Automotive. Let's look at the weekly first. Under the cloud. So that's not good. Here's the daily, same thing. And 2-hour still. Stay out of those, folks. When you're in a downtrend on all these time frames, you don't even have a shorter time frame, the 2-hour showing any strength. It's not the best time to get in, honestly. UHS on the 2-hour is under the cloud. Stay out of that one. Here's the daily and the weekly on that one. And ULTA, Ulta Beauty Inc. It's been hurt. It's dropped from these highs back in March 15th, 2024. It's basically dropped about 35% or so, 37. But at one point it got down to 46% drop. That's a crazy drop. It looks like it's stabilizing itself, but I wouldn't touch it. Okay, now let's get into the sectors very quickly. I won't spend too much time on these. We're going to look at the weekly and dailies on these. If you guys decide that you want to trade these on the 2-hour, you'll have to check out, maybe get this software. It will help you. You can check out any time frame you want. You can go down to a 1 minute time frame. This is the 1 minute on Ulta Beauty. Here's GDX. Oh, that's interesting. Markets drop. The GDX, the gold miners ETF. Oh, that's a 1 minute. Because I know that it looks great on the weekly. Here's the weekly chart on gold miners ETF. It was up 5.36% on Friday. This is a weekly chart, bullish engulfing, breaking through that 44.22. I've been recommending this now all week, and last week, and probably the week before. I've had these check marks on there. You can check my videos. I've been recommending the good ones, folks. Only the best. Only the best. Okay. Here's gold. So GDX, weekly, daily. You can see what's going on here with gold. The bond market. Here's what's going on. I'll give you my input. What I think is going on here. Why gold is doing well and everything else, like other sectors, are not doing so great or as good. This is where people go when they're like, this fear. Gold. It's like the last bastion of hope, because like it generally does not lose its value over time. Okay. And when there's unpredictability in the markets, this is where they go. When the bond market drops, those people are like, uh-oh, maybe it's time to start shifting into gold. Okay. And I think that's what boosted the market here. Because if you look at the daily time frame, when did this all start happening? On Wednesday, April 9th. Remember that? The tariff announcement? Look at this. Okay, this is the reaction, the aftermath. How did just showing you the SPY, how did the S&P 500 do? This was on the same time frame. On Wednesday, it moved up, but look, it's not moving. Okay, the S&P 500 is stuck in a rut, and it's under the cloud. It's under the moving averages. I would not be recommending the SPY here. Okay, and I talked about that in the prior video, so that's why you should check out the indices that I do the analysis on. GLD, how's that doing? Okay, here's a weekly chart. Now, that's not the red spinning top right there, but it is on the daily time frame. So this is what I had put down, a little note there, because I wanted to make sure that people are aware of this. There's a candle warning. Whenever we get this type of tiny little red spinning top, what does that mean? And why is it a problem? I'll tell you why. Because basically, here's what happened. Price gapped up. And instead of continuing to move up and creating a nice candle, a bullish candle like this, it just stayed. The opening price and the closing price stayed at the exact same level. That's why it's flat. That's why it looks like a little cross right there. These are reversal candles. It's a single candle reversal pattern. So if we look at the cheat sheet that we have here, okay, single candle pattern. It's when you have a wick like this and here, and you get the tiny little body. In this case, it's even worse because it's almost like there's no body at all. The opening price and closing price was almost exactly the same. If you look at the price, the opening was 297.96. Okay, 297.96, and it closed at 297.93, 3 pennies lower. That's why it's red. Okay, you want to understand the candlesticks. This is how you can determine what the opening price is right here, the closing price, the high, and the low. On a red candle, the opening price is at the top of the body, the closing price is the bottom, but the wick represents how low the price got during that day. We have a lot of new traders coming into this channel. I'm trying to educate people from every aspect, from beginners to intermediate people, and maybe people who've never really thought about using Ichimoku in their for their analysis. But I found it to be like one of the most useful indicators personally, and it's been around for a long time, and a lot of financial institutions use it. Anyway, so this is a warning candle. So be very cautious with this. Watch out on Monday. If you see gold prices dropping, it could drop a little bit. It might come down to this 285 level. It could have a 4% drop or so. I think what will ultimately happen, though, is when it does come back to a more reasonable prices, it will bounce off these moving averages, and then you'll have another beautiful buy signal to continue the trade. If it breaks, on Monday, gold might get, if it gets above the high, I think there's going to be a continuation to the upside, and you won't even have to worry about it. At that point, you disregard this. It's not a big deal. This is just a warning, because why is it that price gapped up, and then why is it that it opened and closed at the exact same price, right? It means that there weren't enough buyers, essentially. So that's why the candles help us identify what's going on. All right, let's take a look at copper. COPX, Copper Miners ETF to be exact. On the daily chart, it looks pretty good. I like what I'm seeing here on the daily because it got back above the Tengensen. Would I be buying? No. But it's been moving up steadily. You can see that here with the close. See this little white line here? Those are the closing prices. Part of the Ichimoku is this is called the Chiku span. Hold on. Sorry, guys. Let me fix that. This right here is called the Chiku span. What it is essentially is closing prices in a line form, but instead of it being, showing right here, it projects it 26 periods into the past. So if we take a line here and we go straight back 26 periods, that's where you'll find it always. And we look to see where that is in relation to the candles. And if it's below, like it is here, that's bearish. And you don't want to be touching a stock like that. You don't want to be entering a new long position. If you're holding a position, you can try to figure out, finagle how you're going to manage that position. Here's a weekly chart on copper. Same thing. We do have a bullish piercing line pattern here in gold and copper on the weekly. It was up 6.28% on Friday. Is this the end? I don't know. I can't guarantee that. This might just be a quick little pullback. I'm sorry, not pullback, but a little rip up before it drops. All right. If it reaches the Kijinsen, the 26 period right here, it could easily drop, or it might come a little further up here and then drop. But right now we're still in a steady downtrend in copper miners. IBIT, same thing, dropping, but it was up Friday. And it did close above the Kijinsen, so that's a good sign. It's more than likely now to maybe make it up to the cloud, another 4.5%, maybe, before it finds resistance. It could certainly break through that as well, but I'm just saying for target, that's what would be my personal target, a 4.5% move up. I would trade it on a 2-hour probably. Once it breaks through the cloud, for example. Yeah, and that's around the time that you'll be hitting that 200-day moving average too. Okay, XLB, same situation here, right? On the daily, I'd stay out of that. Here's the weekly chart. They're all showing the same stuff. Here's another piercing line, semiconductors. That should do good with that news that we just read. Energy. I don't like this one. I don't know. I'm not sold on this. The ADX is moving up. The negative DI is above the positive DI. This is not really that great. It just broke under the 200-day and it's staying under. Why don't I like it? Because it tried to break and close above that 200-day and got rejected by that line, that moving average. rejected and closed under. It could also close under that 79.32, which goes back to this level over here. How about XLK, technology? So technology, again, with that news that we just read about Apple and NVIDIA, we might see a little spike up, and this might be part of it. The insider trading, I'm sure, that's going on in Washington possibly is helping to lead to this move up, right? So they might be buying it up. So if you see price getting above the high of that candle, or that high, or above the Tenkan-sen, and you want to trade this on a 2-hour time frame, and it gets above the cloud, no one's there to stop you, right? But just be cautious. Recognize that we're still in a downtrend, technically speaking. And we did stall right at the cloud on the weekly chart. Industrials, another piercing line pattern, weekly and daily. USO, same thing. Well, it's not the same thing, but it's under the moving averages there. I wouldn't touch that. XLF. Is this the bottom? It could be. I just don't feel confident enough yet to be gung-ho in all of this. Healthcare, same thing. Real estate, same thing. Stalling at these moving averages. XLP, stalling at the 200-day moving average. Right? Utilities, stalling there too. It got above the Tenkan-sen, but stalling. XHB, look at this. This does not look good at all, does it? If there's any reason to start using Ichimoku, this is a perfect example. Notice how the moving averages in the cloud keep price in check. We'll see a change happen on the charts first, and then it will make sense to get back in. So what will it look like? How will we know for sure? Well, let's go back in time for a moment. I'll just pick any time from the past. All right. We'll go back all the way to the back, right? All the way to the rear. Here we are. We got above the moving averages. This is when XHB first became public. I think it was incepted back in 2019, April 26th of 2019. The Ichimoku didn't have enough data to start creating a cloud. A certain amount of time, 26 periods had to come through in order to get that cloud forming. All right, to get the Senkuspan B to form, 26 candles had to form, and then we can see the formation starting right there. And look, right there, you can see the price got above the Tenkan-sen and moved up. It moved up approximately, 4% in 19 days. It dropped, came back up. You can see here, if we forward through a little bit, it got back up to the cloud over here. It moved up about 10.5% in 2 months, or 2.8 months. Let's keep going. You can see how, as long as it stays above the cloud, you're pretty bullish. You're in a bullish territory. Oh, what happened here? Let's see. We're looking at a daily chart. This was in 2020, February 25th of 2020. Got under the cloud. Oh, interesting. And what transpired after that? Let's see what kind of drop we're talking about. Let's measure it. There it is. 47.75% in 27 days. Actually, less than 27 if we look at this candle. In 22 days, 48.01. You can see that in the little box to the left that populated. Look at the bottom there. You see where it says 48.01? 22 days, right above that. Okay. That's what you can expect sometimes when price gets under. And so it's very unpredictable when price gets under the cloud because the trend has changed. The direction has changed. And look, even the directional movement index gave us a little bit of a heads up right here. You can see when the red line crossed above the green line right there. If we look straight up, that's why I like to use this one too as confirmation. Right about that level right there, we got an earlier, a little bit earlier on that candle. Who would have known, right? But on that candle right there is when the negative DI got above the green line, and then it started dropping. How much of a drop was that? Let's take a look at that. Let's measure that one. I like to back test. I'm always curious. I'm always back testing the Ichimoku, and I'm always surprised by the results. Here, 51%. See that little box in the bottom? 51.09% in 26 days. How much do you have to make to recover that? Well, the numbers are usually a lot higher that you need to make just to break even. You need to make 100.92%. Okay, 100% basically. How long will it take to get back to that level? Let's throw a line in here and let's find out how long it took from this loss, right, to get back to this level right here. If you held it, if you're a buy and hold trader, let's see how long that takes. Okay, this was, we're looking at the 48.97 based on that little candle, and we're going to go forward a little bit in time. Let's see how long it takes to get to that. You can see time is flying. Should I use the weekly chart? No, I won't do that. I'll just like leave this on and just keep going. All right, let's go. Okay, here we go. So it happened right there on July 23rd, 2020. How long a period of time was that? To break even, by the way. From there to there, it was approximately 5 months. So in 5 months, you broke even. So that's good. But the thing is, these down trends can last a lot longer, right? We've seen that in prior declines. Okay, so this is the weekly chart on XHB. This is not looking. We've broken this trend. It's over. Might it reverse here? Possibly. There's the 200-day on the weekly chart. XLY on the weekly, popping back above the cloud. That's good. That's the first signal we need. It's still under the moving averages though. On the daily time frame, still under the cloud, under 200. UNG, same thing. Daily chart looking pretty negative here, under the cloud. Weekly chart inside the cloud. XLC is we got a bullish pattern here that might turn into something on the weekly, maybe next week. But daily time frame, it's going to take a little longer than that. I think it's going to take at least a couple of weeks to get above that cloud. Bitcoin stalling at these levels that I talked about before, right? We could see that this long extended consolidation stage right here. We drew that 74 right there, and I also drew the 76 based on this little candle. Let me just circle it so you can see it right here. And it's been stalling between these levels. Now it got above today. I'm sorry, on Friday, on the daily time frame, it got above the 200 and it closed above. All right, so Bitcoin looking a little stronger. Here's the weekly chart. If it breaks above those two moving averages, and that's just about 3.5%, 3.7% away, Bitcoin could have a little run here potentially, but we're not there yet. There's more resistance above. It's about 9.55% before you break the daily cloud, and on the 2-hour, we are breaking above the 200-day as well. So it's showing strength. It's holding up these last two. You can see those last 4 hours of the day on Friday. That was Bitcoin. That's right. I forgot that this trades. This is showing up until 5 p.m. there. We're gonna look at the IBIT. I think that will give us a little bit. Let's look at the IBIT again. 1 second. I want to see that. Should I finish off with UUP first? Let me do that. Let me look at UUP and then I'll look at IBIT, which is the ETF for Bitcoin. So the US dollar. Okay. Markets around the world, bond market. This is what happens when you mess around. You find out what's going on right here. Okay, we took out this low right here. The US dollar is losing its strength, and it's losing its big time. It broke through that 200-day moving average like butter, right? Right through it. Look what's going on here. ADX is moving up. Negative is above the positive DI. Higher volume on both of these 2 days. This is following the tariff announcement. So US dollar is looking weak. On the weekly chart, let's look at the daily. We've been in an established downtrend here for a while. Since these highs back here, the last time that it made sense to be owning the dollar, I suppose, was around here, December 20th, 2024. The dollar's been decapitated. Okay? All right, let's look at IBIT, like I said. So yeah, here's the weekly chart on IBIT. And it is stalling right there at that level. You can see that gap right there. See that little gap right there? So these are always, it's always going to be a level of support and resistance right there. So it's holding up on the weekly. And here's the daily time frame. It's still under the cloud, but it's moving up these last, 5 days. When there's weakness in the dollar and people are uncertain of where to put their money, they're looking for alternatives, I think, what's going on here. Plus, it does the Bitcoin and these cryptocurrencies have the support of the president, which of course is also going to help spirit to move higher probably. Although he can change his mind, so we never know. VTV on the weekly chart. We got a piercing line pattern. This is one of our members' requests. It popped back into the cloud here, but stalled at the moving averages, so we don't have a buy signal there. And here we are with the Vanguard Value ETF stalling at the moving averages on the daily. I'd stay out of that. CEG, Constellation Energy. Let's look at the weekly chart. We have a bullish engulfing, so this might turn into something. Next week, potentially, it was up 1.84% on the daily time frame. We are still into the 200-day. So it's showing a little strength, but I wouldn't be jumping into this. And DE, Deere and Company, the farm and heavy construction machinery. Let's look at the weekly chart first. We've got a piercing line because it gapped down and then closed within the body here. And it stalled at the Tenkan-sen. So I wouldn't do anything quite yet, but it's starting to show some strength on the weekly. Let's look at the daily. And it stalled right at the cloud. Literally right at that cloud. Notice how it found support here in the cloud and bounced. Notice how once it got under the cloud, it dropped. So right now, once that cloud flattens like you see right there, it's actually a stronger level of resistance on the way up. Harder for the price to get through it. So I don't see that happening anytime soon. All right, let's scroll quickly through these country ETFs. Greece showing some strength again. It was dropping a little bit last week. It popped back above the Tenkan-sen, Kijun-sen, and the Ichimoku cloud. So that is good news. That's a piercing line pattern. And this is the kind of pattern you want to see on a weekly chart. We don't have confirmation here with a negative DI above positive DI, but the candles are looking strong on the weekly. On the daily, you can see it popped above both moving averages. We don't have confirmation with a faster moving average above the slower one. But remember what I said earlier about the Chiku span. Today's closing price. If today's closing price is above the candle 26 periods ago, that candle right there, that's bullish. And we do have that, I think, on the weekly too. See? Right there. And on the 2-hour, it's stalling right here under the cloud. So I'd wait for it to get above that 47.79 first. Maybe above this prior high on the 2-hour, 48. And then it might take off some more. Let's see how the directional movement index looks a little stronger on the 2-hour time frame. EWP, Spain. Let's look at the weekly first. Another bullish pattern here on the weekly. No confirmation on the directional movement index, but we have a big volume bar, a lot of strength coming in here. Daily time frame also. And on the 2-hour, we're also stalling right at the cloud. Interesting that all the European stocks are kind of looking the same. EPOL, Poland. Same type of pattern, piercing line pattern. No confirmation on directional movement. Daily time frame above both, but we have that Tenkan-sen under Kijun-sen, and on the 2-hour, we're still under the cloud. Everything else is negative. I know you see positive percentages, but if I show you the charts, they're not going to look pretty. EWO, and I'm just going to show you the daily time frames. On the daily and on the weekly, I guess I can show you some of these. On the weekly, it looks good. On the daily, we've got that Tenkan-sen under Kijun-sen. Austria might pop again. You can see the Chiku span is still underpriced though. EWC, same thing. Canada, under the cloud, under the 200 on the daily. EZA, under the 200. That's South Africa. EWM is Malaysia. It's under the cloud. No on that. EWN is Netherlands, under the cloud. India is inside the cloud. Might pop soon on the daily. And on the weekly chart, it's stalling. So no bullishness right there yet. EWY, bullish engulfing, but under the cloud, no on that one. That's EWY is South Korea. They might get a little boost from that Apple NVIDIA announcement since they sell a lot of technology, technology products maybe. Although I think that was more related to China. EPU, Peru Capped Index Fund. This one here popped above on the daily. On the weekly chart, it's under the Tenkan-sen, Kijun-sen. So it's looking like it's getting closer. Once it gets above 44.95, I think that will make sense. THD is Thailand. I mean, there was a big bullish bar here on Friday and this week, but it's still into the cloud. And here's a daily. Still in a very, very strong downtrend. It has dropped from its highs approximately, like it got as low as 35, down 35%. It's now down just 26%. Japan showing a little bit of strength here. Here's the weekly chart. They sold a lot of bonds this last week. Daily time frame. U.S. Treasuries, that is. EWJ down, up 2.49%, stalling at the Kijinsen. Countries are freaked out with good reason. Here's the weekly chart, popping above the Tenkan-sen and Kijinsen, and daily time frame stuck in the cloud. VGK, Vanguard European, is trying to remerge into the cloud here. So it's starting to show strength again, got above the 200 on the daily, but on the weekly, it's still inside the cloud. So no buy signal there. Mexico, same thing. It's under the cloud. Brazil is under the cloud on the weekly. France is inside the cloud. We don't have a buy there. Switzerland is above the cloud on the weekly, but on the daily, it's inside. So it's starting to show some strength. It might pop soon. Chico Span is still underpriced, though. Italy is inside the cloud on the daily. No on that one. UK is under the cloud on the daily. EWU is the ticker symbol. VNM is stuck under the 200 on the daily. Australia is above the moving averages, but under the cloud. And that is going to do it. Finally, my gosh, I went through too many things. It's a long video. 41 minutes, I just realized. Boy, when I start talking, man, I don't stop, huh? Anyway, if you guys enjoyed this video and you learned some things and you want to continue supporting, hit the like, subscribe button. Consider joining to be a member to get access to the memberships portfolio. Like I said before, you just go to the to my page here, Blue Cloud Trading. Click on the join button. Click on the subscribe button. Click on the notification bell so I pop up in your subscription so you can find these videos. Definitely check out this video. And there's the new members only video. It's a good one, I think. I think you'll like this one. I did pretty good in my gold stocks, the ones that I bought throughout the week and last week as well. And so, yeah, I've picked some good stocks that are doing pretty good. They're doing really well in this environment because it's really important to know what to trade in this environment and have a strategy. Okay, that's important, folks. Very important. All right. I will catch you all in the next video.